welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jay.
I'm Nessa. Today we have Jo Dabney. For those of you who don't know her, she has designed a couple of jerseys that are of interest for us, which is why we have her on the podcast. Jo, would you mind giving an introduction and about how you got into hockey and how you identify?
Hi, I'm Jo. My pronouns are she, her. Um, how I got into hockey is a bit of a weird story. I was a really big baseball fan, and this one summer I was like binging baseball movies, and my dad was like, enough, okay? So I asked like what else I should watch. He recommended The Mighty Ducks. And I can confidently tell you I was not paying attention for those movies, except for when they were on the ice. Like, probably couldn't even tell you the plot. But after that, I like Googled the local hockey teams. The Caps came up and just kind of started. Well, I didn't watch games at that point. I was reading fan fiction, which is a little embarrassing because they were not good. But that led to like becoming a huge Braden Holtby fan, and then eventually going to games, which that was like 10 years, 9 years or so had passed before I actually went to games. But yeah, started with the Mighty Ducks and fan fiction, which is an interesting mix.
When did you start making your illustrations?
Well, hockey illustrations started in 2020.
Okay.
I don't really know if I'd call them illustrations before that, before they were just kind of like drawings of characters from movies I liked or video game stills that I paused on. But for hockey, it definitely started in 2020, right after the season was postponed, but before the bubble playoffs started. It was the week that all the players and stuff were kind of protesting, if that's what we're calling it. But yeah, I did this drawing of JT Brown, and it kind of just, I did it as a joke, which is my problem. I do things as a joke, and it kind of just carried on into something serious.
It's probably one of my favorite pieces you've done.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. I can't even lie.
It's really good. I like it a lot.
It is.
I don't know. I have
start of everything.
Your website open here. You have a lot of really good stuff. Are you a Spider-Man fan? Is that?
My brother is. So like when I first started drawing, I only did it because he was really into drawing, and I just wanted to impress him. I wanted him to think I was the coolest kid ever, which doesn't make any sense because like we were spending all this time together, and every time I say it back, I'm like, you don't really think the people you spend 24/7 with are like cool. It didn't make sense to younger me though. If he liked Spider-Man, I was gonna draw everything Spider-Man. And so like when I was first getting into hockey, I was like, okay, I want my brothers to be into what I'm into. It didn't work. It did not work. But the recent Spider-Man drawing that's on there, my brother always takes me to the movies on my birthday. So I was like, this is my chance. I'm going to a game before my birthday. We're going to the movies on my birthday. I should just. It didn't work, but it seemed like a good plan. It wasn't, but I mean, in the moment, it definitely did.
I'm a big Spider-Man fan, as you can see.
Which is so cool.
So I'm like, I want one of these Spider-Man hockey jerseys that you decided to design.
I need to figure out how to make them real because they're so cool. And I'm not saying hockey jerseys are boring, but like in my opinion, the Spider-Man ones are really cool.
They're fun for sure.
So I guess I'm curious what kind of got you started in the journey to like not so much doing hockey art, but maybe just art in general. Like what was the process for you? And then I guess we can segue after that into how you've been getting into all of these opportunities to illustrate and design for some of these various and pretty cool jerseys.
Well, for art, like I said, it was mostly because my brother was into art and he was like taking art classes with my other brother, which you'll notice I have a lot of siblings. But I didn't really want to do classes. I was into sports and like being outside. So we were like opposites in that regard, but I don't really know. I just like I've never taken classes or really watched YouTube videos or tutorials or anything. It kind of just happened, which sounds like such a terrible answer, but it just I see a design and I kind of want to do my own spin on it, and then I won't really like it, so I'll change things, and then like I genuinely wish I could describe the actual process. It's most of the time I'm not even like thinking when I'm doing it. It's just the process of creating, and then it'll manifest into other mediums like painting or sculpting, which I'm not good at, but I do attempt, and it's not good attempts, but they are attempts. Um, and when I did the drawing for GT Brown, that was 100% as a joke, out of spite. So I was like, oh, the NHL is not going to see this. No one's going to care. At the time, I only had like 300 followers. I was like, this is a joke. In 2 days, I'm going to delete it. That did not happen. A few people, reporters, DM'd me asking if they could use it for articles and if I did commissions. So I asked my mom. I was like, "What's a commission? And do I say yes?" I was like, "I don't know what these people are saying. I did not know." She was like, "Say yes. I'll help you set it out." She's very business oriented. She's very good at that stuff. So I was like, okay. I don't want to seem like incompetent. I don't want to seem like I don't know what I'm doing, even though I 100% still do not know what I'm doing. That eventually, I guess it's more of taking on the right jobs, because I do say no to a lot of teams and a lot of people because I don't like being super busy with stuff like that. I do still want to go to games, and I'm not really sure like how people get my name for certain projects. But for the Riveters jersey, I was at a hockey game, my first regular season hockey game, and I got an email, and it was like, "Hi Joe," but they already knew my name. I was like, "See, this sounds like spam." I was like, "This is spam." They had my name in the subject. This is spam. I was like, I'm not replying to this. So 3 days go by, and I'm like, I should read it. And then it's like an actual. They were like, "Hi Joe, we got your name from Renee," and I was like, "Oh dear, not spam." And I was reading through, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like an actual jersey offer, like something I was joking about 2 weeks ago, which I should probably stop joking about things on the internet, especially with art, because it just keeps turning into like actual serious things. But for the Riveters, that just put a lot of serious, actual business people on my radar, and vice versa. And it kind of, I don't want to say it made things more serious, because as you can tell, I'm not very serious, not taking everything super seriously, but definitely introduced me to more people that do the kind of thing that I like to do. They just create art, and they're super cool, and they're about creating inclusive spaces while also being just cool people. And that turned into, over a very long summer working with teams I can't talk about yet, but cool projects. Um, Someone DM'd me a post from the Erie Otters. They had a open submission thing for their jersey for Black History Month. And I didn't tell them this at the time, but I put it in the submission. Andre Burakovsky, who wore the Black Rosie jersey, is one of my favorite players. He used to play for the Erie Otters, but only for 1 year. So I was like, this is my sign. I don't know what the sign is saying, but this is my sign to do something. And then a few days had passed, and I got news that Dylan Strome, who used to play for the Otters, was signing with the Caps. And I was like, I don't know what these signs are, but I need to do something for the Otters. So I was like looking through all their, usually when I do projects for teams and stuff, I go through their past history and like current logos they're using to do the complete opposite of that. And I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do for the Otters. So then I just started watching cartoons with my youngest brother. He's 6 right now. And if he likes it, and if my older brother both like it, because they have nothing in common, then I'm like, okay, this is it. And they actually liked it. And I also thought it was spam, because in the email they were like, "Congratulations, Joe," which just, maybe it's me assuming things shouldn't be spam. I should change my mentality for that, but I let it sit there for a couple days before I clicked on it, and I was like, oh man. And then I kept, like, before I replied, I was like, did they see the part about me applying because of Dylan Strom and Andre Burakovsky? And I just kept going over that in my head. Like, they're going to think I have bad intentions, and I need a sign to do it, to say yes, which is how I've been approaching projects. I need a sign from an outer, the universe, I don't know, to be like, this is what you should do, which is why I say no to a lot of teams. Which is kind of a tangent that kind of went off the rails from your question, but yeah.
Was there a specific cartoon that inspired the Erie Otters design?
It was
It's
Bluey.
super cute. It was what?
It was Bluey.
Of course it was Bluey. Everyone's obsessed with Bluey.
My younger brother and I, we usually watch, so, because like, you know when you're a kid, you watch like one movie over and over again? Mine was the Titanic, so like, I don't want to put him on that. I don't know what my younger deal was,
It's a sad
but
movie.
I don't want him to watch that.
I'm glad Titanic
like, okay.
didn't inspire your Otter jersey.
Yeah, I think it would have been tragic. That would have been terrible. I don't know what my parents, I don't know. But usually we watch one Pixar movie, and then we'll watch a whole season of a show, because he can just sit still for forever, which is the complete opposite of me. But I love spending time with him, so like, I let him pick. And we had just finished Luca, and I loved the colors of Luca, but it wasn't the vibe I was going for, so I was like scrolling through, and I was like, this show? He was like, no. This show? He was like, you've seen it. And I was like, you gotta work with me. And he was like, Bluey. Even though we had already watched it 3 times. What he wants is usually what I go for. But yeah, it was Bluey. Which, I know everyone's like on this little kick about maybe older people shouldn't watch it, or maybe it's not that great, but it's a great show. And it's cute. And the art is so cute and like simple.
My youngest brother, who is, what year is it? He's 22 now. The last time he came to visit, he was like, oh my god, that show is so good. I don't know why I like it so much.
It's so, like, and every episode has a little lesson in there. It's so good. And I know it's for little kids, that's why there's a lesson, but still, it's really cute. I love it.
It looks cute. Like, I haven't watched it myself, but I've seen little clips, and the animation and art style look really good.
It is so, and there was this one episode that'll like break the fourth wall and show it being animated. It's so good. It's such a good show. I cannot get enough of it.
Listen,
You made a good choice.
I will probably watch a couple of episodes now. I am actually a very big animation fan, so.
Which is, yes. And now I'm curious if you watched anime, because you said animation, but it's like, they're like cousins.
I don't much anymore. I had a whole era of my life where it was very big.
What was your favorite before you stepped away, though? I'm curious.
Oh man, favorites. One of my favorites was Prince of Tennis. I was really big into sports anime. Towards the end, I was getting into more obscure stuff. One of the last mangas that I was reading was called Gangsta with an A at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know that?
Yeah, I've read all of them, and I have it on TV.
Okay,
it's so
I'm sad about that series because you know about the mangaka, right? Her situation.
Yeah.
So Nessa, this mangaka, she's really sick. She's in and out of the hospital, and like so they've had to constantly postpone. The way that they do it is they put them out in like a weekly or a monthly magazine, right? Depending on who you signed with.
Depends on how fast they come to the US when they
Right.
I used to watch like really old school stuff when I was like 8. You know, like my anime shows were like Sailor Moon, like the original Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z.
That's like everything that was on like Toonami from like whenever Toonami was on.
Yeah, exactly.
R.I.P. to Toonami.
And then I kind of just
Can I just say about Sailor Moon? This was even before I like realized I was queer. I'm like, something's not right about this relationship on screen. That they're sisters, and I'm like, but you know, like 16-year-old me is going, like I don't think that's right.
Which, yeah, because I picked up on those signs too. They were not very subtle. Not
Hmm.
to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I grew out of that though. My thing is like feature animation films right now because I'm trying to get into that industry. So I constantly am watching a lot of animation to like practice and stuff. So I love
So that
animation.
100% means you've seen Into the Spider-Verse then, as a
Oh my
Spider-Man fan,
god, I
of
can't even
course.
tell you how many times I've watched it.
It's so good. It's such a great movie.
I
It's
actually have a friend who's
absolute perfection.
working on the second one right now.
That is so
Yeah, I'm so
cool.
excited for him.
That is so cool. It is, like, you can already see the impact it's had on other animated movies. And just, it's so good.
Oh my god, have you watched Puss in Boots?
Not yet. I'm waiting for, usually when I go to the movies, I take all my siblings. We all go together. And right now we have chaotic schedules. And I'm hoping after, is this upcoming Tuesday, I have to be at the Cat scene for their Valentine's Day thing because I did the rally towel. So I'm hoping after that, I'll be good to go. Or at least stream it somewhere or something.
It's
Because
so
I've
good.
successfully avoided spoilers so far, but I cannot go any longer.
It is so good.
Especially with animated movies. And it looks, just the animation style and how clean it looks.
Yeah, a lot of people in the
I
animation
just,
industry are like, this movie has no business being this good.
that's how I felt when I saw Into the Spider-Verse. I was like, they
Game changer.
literally portrayed so many different styles of animation and so many different styles of like actual mediums of art so perfectly. Like you wouldn't even realize you're watching an animated movie. It's just so good.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite. So good.
It is the best superhero movie ever. No offense to like the other ones.
It's just the
Like
bar has been set now.
actors. They can't. The only way it could be topped is by the sequel, and even then, I don't know, because the first one is unless it's like a Shrek situation where the sequel just surpasses it in every way,
Yeah,
which is a weird comparison to make right there. But yes,
we'll have to wait and see.
I'm excited though.
You have no idea.
So I did want to ask you about, because Braden Holtby is one of my favorite players as well. Um, and when I saw you tweet that he was wearing your Black Rosie jersey, I just was like, I don't know how she's like
I was crying.
she's
I was
containing
crying
her
so hard
excitement because
just thinking
I
about it
don't
now.
even know how I would react. So can you give us even like a smidgen of the feeling that you had when you saw that, or like did you see it on Twitter first, or did someone
Yeah,
tell you? Like how was the
so I was
reaction to that?
I was in Denver for the Colorado Avalanche. We had a meeting, and it was 9 in the morning, and I had a notification because I followed the Stars at the time because whatever team Hopi's on, the team I'm keeping up with. So I had their post notifications on, and when I saw the notification, it had my at in it. I was so confused. I was like, "Oh, I'm getting blocked. They're sick of me talking under every single post that Hopi's under. Every single time they post Hopi, I'm like, he's coming home, King. Come home, King." They're finally blocked. I was so sure that's what it was, and then when I clicked on it, and I saw Braden Holtby's face, and I saw the Black Rosie jersey. I promise you, I fell to my knees and I was crying. I was, and my mom was asleep, so I was like silently crying, but I was crying. I couldn't wake her up, but I was shaking and like still trying to get out the door for my meeting, and there was so much happening, and it was insane. It's still my wallpaper to this day, my phone. Like
It would
it's
be
great.
mine too if that were me.
Like the only thing that could probably top it is like if I get a picture with him. That, and even then, I don't know if it'd be as cool as him wearing it. But yeah, and it's a little, not to like overshadow or talk down on Andre Burakovsky, but he wore it first, and that was cool. But the Stars did a video, and Brandon only said my name, and he was like, "I'm a fan of your work," which is so
Oh
cool.
my God.
And then my friend Ian, he does Russian Machine Never Breaks. A couple months later, I want to say it was like September-ish, he met up with him at a charity event. And he like casually mentioned my name. And then Braden Holtby just like, yeah, I'm a fan of her work. I can't wait to meet her. And I was like, oh yeah. And he waited to tell me until a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, yeah, I would have been crying. I would have been sobbing on the floor or something. I don't know. That's like indescribable. Your favorite player. Like, he was my favorite player because he was a goalie, and then the more I learned about him, like, he supports LGBTQ plus rights, and he really gave great statements about Black Lives Matter that other people just, I can't even like properly word how they weren't doing it right, because it's not to talk down on them, but also not to put them on a pedestal at the same time. Just means a lot. And also, he's really good. So. I mean, Vezina Listener, All-Star, Stanley Cup champion, I don't know. It's pretty cool. And also, his wife likes my art too, so. In my head, like, we're already friends. They don't need to know that part.
Have you met him?
Best, not yet.
I mean, it just sounds like
I'm
he's a bad friend that he hasn't, gotten back to you. Is
honestly,
what I'm hearing.
Like, I'm at all the, we're literally looking miles apart because we live in the same city, and we haven't met yet. So once baseball season comes, I'm like, for sure. He's always at baseball games, which sucks because we're always at like the opposite baseball games. The universe is playing tricks on me right now. But when we meet, I don't want to say like something good will happen because I know I'll be crying. But like, okay, that will be good. I will be happy crying. I'll be on the floor, and I'll have to like make up a good reason for like why I'm on the floor. I'll think of like a good lie or something to come up, like, oh, I tripped, and then he came, and that's where it happened.
But oh my god, it's like
pretty exciting.
It's like middle school daydream. It's like, oh, if I trip and my crush catches me.
I'm like, I already had to think about it. Like, oh, I saw a really cool penny, and then I just like absolutely fell or something. Like, I need a reason for I'm on the ground. It can't just be, oh, I cried. That's so Denver. That was the first time. I need something like to up it this time. Just really cool. Because like also in my head, I've imagined that like indirectly Alex Ovechkin has seen something I've done. Because if they all follow Russian Machine Over Bricks, and Russian Machine Over Bricks has covered this and the Erie Otters jersey, like it's like 6 degrees of separation. Which I'm not going to explain how much time I've spent thinking about this. It's a lot of time.
I mean, it's exciting. Like, you have every right to be like fangirling over it.
Like in my head, like I'm very positive it's mutual with the Holtbys though. They're like, oh my gosh, just made a cool art or something. I don't know how they sound. They wouldn't sound about, but something similar, hopefully.
I think we'll know when it finally happens because I expect it like front page news, like just because I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes, and I just like it like my brain can't even comprehend the reaction that I would have. Someone would probably have to drag me out, and like I'd probably pass out, end up in the hospital, something like that.
Just thinking about it right now, I'm like shaking
because it's not so much the fact, like if it's just a player and you're just admiring them for their skill set, like
it's like being a fan of like it's actually a good comparison of being a fan of like Alex Ovechkin because he's a player, he's cool, but he doesn't mean as much to me as Braden.
Right, it's the culmination of everything.
Exactly,
because I mean he's standing up for so many things that it's like the bare minimum that things that could be done in the league are not being done. Not only does he, he voluntarily goes out to like the pride events, at least when he was over in Washington. And, his whole speech over at the HRC, him and his wife going out to like the store in the Castro, like for a hockey player to mention Castro, I like that's already like leaps and bounds in my perspective.
You can tell it feels genuine compared to like the capitalist kind of way that like teams or leagues approach pride events. Like they just slap a rainbow on it and say like
Mm-hmm.
hockey is for everyone. You can tell that it's genuine, so it means a little more. Which is why I keep trying to explain to people, like when I'm, oh, I was crying, and they'll be like, but why? And then I have to like, oh, well, you wouldn't get it. It's fun. You don't have. I do cry a lot for games, but this one was like different, and it was also weird because like later that day, when I was at the Colorado Avalanche game, Andre Burakovsky finally scored a goal. He was like in a 10-game drought or something, and I was like, this is because of Braden Holtby. And in my mind, it made sense, but I was already like 2 drinks in, so no one knew what I was saying, but it made sense to me. And like even now, repeating it back, it makes perfect sense. In the moment, it did not, though.
So, this would be a good segue for our next question. Kind of wanted to get your opinion, I guess, on, what the league is doing with this whole pride stuff and how they're mishandling it.
They're definitely, in my opinion, Pride Nights and Hockey is for Everyone Nights, which feel completely different as the names, weren't even bare minimum. So to take them away, it's not even kind of, it's 100% a slap in the face, especially to the organizations they're allegedly partnered with, especially for the New York Rangers, I believe, are the first one that did it as a whole, taking it away. They had already advertised it as having pride jerseys and having money donated to those organizations from the auctions. And to not do it is just insulting. Also, imagining how many people bought games specifically for that because it was the Pride Night. It was a bad taste in my mouth. Like hockey games are already like a bad environment, and I know people say it's just sports, but like if you've been to a game, the vibe is not great. People aren't the best. So to take away like the tiny little string that people are holding on to and just slice it and just let those people fall and like lose basically all hope. Because if they're taking away pride games, who's to say they're not going to take away other events that are supposed to promote inclusivity?
Right.
So it's insulting, but it's not surprising.
Yeah.
Which is also insulting that it's not surprising.
It's just like very, very disappointing.
It's also, I am curious about what they're going to do with those jerseys and how much they donated to, because they did say that they went ahead and donated to the organizations that they were partnered with for the jerseys. And if several teams have already pulled out, there's no way they donated what they would have made. Which is just sad. It's like you're punishing someone else for something that you just don't stand for, which is, again, insulting. To say you stand for something and then to just pull it away because of one player that won't be named. Also because I'm not sure I can pronounce his name.
He who must not be named.
One of the things that Nessa had said when we saw that the New York Rangers were forgoing wearing the jerseys and putting on pride tape was you were questioning about, well, since we never even saw the jerseys, what about the artists that may or may not have designed those jerseys? So, I mean, it leaves way more questions, and I can't even, like the statements that come out after the fact
raised more questions and answered absolutely nothing. Because like, how could you see it as an organization that it was better to make everyone question what your morals were than to just have the night at all? And then you still end up donating, but not what would have been raised. Like, it literally makes no sense to me. And maybe because I'm applying too much logic when clearly there was no logic when the decisions were being made. But
when can they put us in charge?
I'm ready.
We'll fix it.
Oh, but then I would like allow goalie fights, so maybe I shouldn't be in charge. Goalie fights would be the only fights. all their
Those would be
pads. I would be
silly. Keep everything on. Keep like the
Just
gloves and
pillows.
exactly.
It's a
They
pillow
would be
fight.
like toddlers, and they would be like waddling around. It
yeah.
would be so entertaining.
Glorified
And if
pillow
that could be the
fights.
whole period, yeah,
Give
I would.
them like blow up sticks that they can.
I would be so into that. That would be so cool.
Like sock and boppets.
See, we would be
Sock and
so good
boppers.
at
What was
this.
it? Man.
Oh,
No?
give them like the tubes that you use in like the swimming pool.
Oh, the noodles?
The pool noodle
Yeah.
things. Yeah. That would be so good.
Oh, man.
One of them would actually make it a weapon, though, so they'd have to be shortened for sure.
Can you imagine them trying to file it to make a point?
This just
Oh,
got.
for sure.
See, I was going with playful. You're getting back to violence there.
But it's still a pool noodle. It
If it's a
wouldn't hurt.
rivalry team, though,
If anything, it'd like break faster.
if it's like a rivalry between two goalies, I would allow the sharpening of the pool noodles. Because, like, you can't stop a rivalry. It is what it is. It's all fair. All fair in 11 games, and specifically rivalries.
Okay, I propose a new sort of jousting in hockey with the pool noodles. They just skate right at each other.
This is where you take away the
I'm
shootout.
supporting.
Yeah.
See,
Take out
because
the
apparently
shootout. Bring out the noodles.
only people who don't have Evgeny Kuznetsov on their team hate the shootout. Because, like, TJ Oshie and Kuzi make it so entertaining. Even
Must
well,
be
not when we
nice.
lose. Okay, but it's already bad if they're in overtime and they go that far because the Caps are the Caps.
Oh,
But, like, at least if we're going to a shootout, I know that there's like 10% chance that I won't end the night crying, which isn't very high.
I
Like, for the
apologize
Caps,
that the
it's
Sharks
really
didn't
high.
let you go into shootout.
No, that was deserved. That was a deserved game. They every now and then the Caps get a little too confident. They need to be humbled, and that's what that was.
beat by a sucky
Oh
team.
yeah, we have no confidence anymore. We're already out of the playoff race, so we're like
Right now
whatever.
Which is why I enjoyed it a little. I enjoyed it a little. I don't know if I should admit that, but usually when I don't watch the Caps and they lose, I do enjoy it just like a tiny little bit. Like the universe is giving me a little pat on the back or something. I don't know.
We're currently preparing ourselves for the heartbreak of the trade deadline coming up.
I'm not heartbroken about it.
I'm heartbroken.
I want it to happen.
Okay, some
Why?
Sharks fans are heartbroken for losing Meyer.
I want this team to be better.
As you should be.
I want them to
wrong.
be better.
That's the wrong answer. Okay, but
He is the team.
vibes are right with him there.
Him and Carlson are the team.
I love him. He's great. I love them both. They're great.
What do we got to do to make you a
shouldn't let
partial
them
Sharks
go.
fan?
Honestly, I don't think it would take much. I could part-time. I could bandwagon. Or maybe not bandwagon this season.
Bandwagon for the tank.
Root for our downfall to get a high draft pick.
I'm manifesting something. Because tanking is pretty fun. Not if you're a baseball team, though, because my baseball team tanked wrong. So they tanked so hard that they got second. They didn't tank like hard enough. But like for a hockey team, I can root for a tank. I can bandwagon for a tank. I got you. I can do that.
Perfect.
We'll stamp the approval of honorary Sharks fan for the tank.
I'm curious though if y'all watch baseball though, because like.
Oh yeah, Giants
Actually,
fan.
I don't know
Oh, check this out.
No, wrong answer.
I'm in the Bay Area. What do you expect?
The Padres.
What's a Nationals?
Okay. See, because I'm not a Nationals fan. While Juan Soto is out in California.
Oh God, you're a Padres fan currently.
Oh,
I'm a
it's
Soto.
okay. At least she's not.
Okay.
Don't say Dodgers, and we'll still be good.
I mean,
No.
I actually have
Screw the
a
Dodgers.
Tatis shirt. Do you remember there was this whole there's like this drama online where he was going up. Who was it? He was like talking smack to a Dodger, I think, and then
it could be any of them.
he had said something.
Which one was it? I'm thinking hard. I'm trying to remember who it was.
Oh my!
I try hard not to remember their names
Should I
unless it's
Google
Mookie
it?
Betts because that's my man. even though he was in Boston, but it's fine. But Buster Posey is my favorite player of all time.
Yes,
So
Buster.
I feel like that's fine. Which sucks
I
because I never
didn't
got to see him
I didn't
play.
watch his like announcement or anything. I'm like, no, if I don't watch it, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Same. If I didn't watch it, then it's not real. It
He's
didn't
still on the
happen.
team.
Exactly. Which is why for the longest time I was like, if Aaron Judge goes to the Giants, the world is just going to be wrong. Which I'm glad he didn't. I think.
Whatever.
I think I'm kind of glad.
The Giants are just
He
like,
would ruin the vibe.
they just can't win currently during the off season, and it's so heartbreaking. So now everyone's okay. I guess
Yeah.
for next off season, maybe they can try to get oh god, I just forgot his name, Otani. I was like, that's not gonna happen, but
That would be so cool.
it would be amazing.
That would be great. As long as he's not a Yankee, and as long as he doesn't go to the Dodgers or the Phillies, I would lose my mind if one more player I like goes to the Phillies. I think I would like actually run into a brick wall. I don't know how I would make it work, but there would be a me-shaped hole in a brick wall. I can't take the Phillies. No.
Do you live in DC or just nearby?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I live in DC, which is unfortunate because like all my teams suck. I just mope from one team to the other.
I know what that's like.
Well, yeah, we can relate. And I don't watch basketball, and that's the only team that's bringing home stuff these days.
The Niners are still pretty good.
No, 49ers aren't bad.
I said bringing home stuff.
They brought home a NFC championship
last game
a couple years ago.
How many banners do we have hanging in the tank? Those won't mean anything.
Good point. Okay. But like the Wizards suck. So I wouldn't like publicly tell anyone I'm a Wizards fan unless I was like tricked into doing so. And the Mystics.
Are the Mystics WNBA?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have one.
Which they won the championship in 2019. 20 days before the Nationals did, which is such a big deal for me because I got the newspaper that day. I don't even get the newspaper, but I specifically wanted them.
So the Capitals won the Stanley Cup in 2018, and then you had two teams win championships the following year.
Yep.
And you're complaining about how your teams suck right now?
They all did. They did like criminally bad after that. This is why you shouldn't want flukes. Maybe people were right about dynasties because like they went from surprisingly good, and then they just like they were here, and then they didn't realize it was a cliff and not a hill, and they just went down.
Yeah,
and they're just like stuck. They need a ladder.
As a Giants fan,
I can bring the ladder.
I can relate. Yes, remember they had their dynasty, and then they just fell off.
Yeah.
And then
which was so fun to
not
watch.
Last season, but the season before, they had the 107 win games won season, and then
which I'm starting to think like
that was a fluke.
Maybe you shouldn't aim for 100 wins because like when the Dodgers do it, it goes really bad. When the Yankees do it, the Yankees don't count because the Yankees are the Yankees, and nothing they do really counts because they're the Yankees. But still,
it was a big deal just because we don't have any star players on the team.
Which is why it was so cool to watch. Because like usually I pick like at the start of every season, well, the start of every preseason, I read the MLB rulebook, and then deciding on which rules I think are stupid, I'll go through the preseason rosters, and I'll pick like a West Coast team that I want to root for, and it always ends up being the Giants. And I'm like, it's every single time. I'm like, it's not going to be them this year. I'm going to be different, and every single year it's them. And then I have to like sit down and wonder why. And I'm like, well, Buster Posey was there. I'm like, good.
Now he's like
when
partial
my team
owner.
Sucks on the same day, they are not sucking. So like it's like math to me, but like it's not. So if I had to explain it to someone that didn't understand sports, they would think I'm insane. But it kind of makes sense if you don't think too hard about it.
We appreciate the Bay Area support.
Absolutely.
I was supporting Washington while you guys were trying to get to the Cup, and we appreciate that you knocked out the Knights.
I
very much appreciated.
So much. It was glorious. It was Which is why like Caps fans still like have a little beef with the Golden Knights.
Who doesn't these days?
Which if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense for any fans that aren't West Coast teams to hate them, but we hate them so much. It's more intense than like Caps Penguins games these days, which is hilarious. Because like, why? It was one series. I hate them though. It's so valid.
Imagine being in the same
deserve
conference
it.
or the same division as them.
They're so, which sucks because like all their pregame stuff looks so cool, but I can't enjoy it because I hate them. I would never admit it because I hate them. It is what it is. It's like admitting something nice about, I don't know, the Flyers or something. I don't think
I
I could
have a
stomach
question
it.
now that you brought up the Capitals Penguins rivalry.
Okay.
I saw in the off season with with Fleury being a free agent, I saw some chatter, and I don't know much about the rivalries on the Eastern Conference, but there was some chatter about the Penguins, no, the Caps, because you shipped off Samsonov and Vanacek over the season,
Which
and
I'm
so,
so upset about.
but I saw
Heartbreaking.
that there was no way that Fleury was going to go over to the Capitals
Oh
because of
yeah,
the rivalry.
it was rumored because we had no goalies. We even sent
Hmm.
the goalie we usually call up to the Kings, which I was glad about because I have indirect beef with him. He doesn't know it, but it's there. And everyone was like, so like with all my friends and stuff, we were like, okay, here are all the available goalies. Here's who we want because like who wouldn't want Fleury? He's great. But like as far as I can tell, a lot of the East Coast teams, whichever team they start out with, they're very good about not going to former teams that are rivals of current teams or any rivalries like that. I knew there was no chance we were getting him, which is unfortunate because who would want him? But like now he's in Minnesota. So like, is that better? No, it's not. But actually, are they better?
I think they're mid.
Yeah, they're not as
Okay.
good as I feel like they were last season. They're
I feel like
struggling.
they've been so silent. I can't think of one
They usually are,
exciting thing they've done.
except for last season.
That's like really mean.
Yeah, they're just
Last season
mediocre.
they were. He should have come here. Like rivalries only matter if.
Well,
Okay, maybe rivalries do matter, but like if imagine how like intense it would be if you go to the other team. That's like adding fuel. That would be. I can't think of a word because there's no word to describe how treacherous that would be.
it's the
Like
loyalty
I,
is
I
just
was
not
just
there.
I was just upset about like how many Phillies players were former Nats,
Well,
and now I'm like, well, it's different if it's hockey,
what if?
which it's not.
Think about this. What if for some reason Ovechkin wanted a trade and he went to the Pens to go play with
She made
Sid?
a face.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
You're asking
No,
her
no.
like a off limits question right there. She's like,
No.
hold on.
If you said that's like putting Tom Wilson up for grabs that's Tom Wilson's like the Rangers or like Ovi to the pit.
that's what
Making it say
Fleury
no.
to the Caps would have been. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I get that. But like in the imaginary little bubble where we knew it wouldn't happen, it was fun to imagine. Because we're 100% positive it would not happen. And also because we just have bad luck with goalies. So we knew we wouldn't get like
Yeah, he's injury
one that
prone.
would want to be here. More like, it's not like the team itself, it's more like how the fans treat goalies.
Oh, I
Like how
see.
we're doing Darcy right now. Which is why I'm so, not upset, but maybe conflicted a bit about Samsonov being in Toronto. It's like he loves it there. And everyone loves him. And he's great. Which is good because he's great, but like I loved him first. They don't love him as much as I do, with as much intensity as I do. And at first they hated him. So like
Toronto fans hate
get it.
everyone on the team until they're scoring points.
Okay, but like I do understand hating Austin Matthews. Because, like, I have a love-hate thing with him. More of, like, hate. Like, a love-hate, like, to describe it accurately. But, like, John Tavares is there, so I don't see how you could hate anyone. And he's, like, he's who he is. He's great. Which was a weird segue from where we just switched from.
So, are you not happy with acquiring Kemper? Would you rather have Samsonov and Vanacek?
I think if there was a way to keep Vanacek, I wouldn't have an opinion at all. And also because my mom really hates sports. She absolutely cannot remember players' names unless they're like in the news for something bad. But she loved Vanacek. So I was like, there is no way they're getting rid of him. And then they got rid of him. So,
Could we...
that was like extra salt in the wound.
Could we interest you in one rhymer for the trade deadline?
Okay. I wouldn't say no, which is insane, maybe, but like I wouldn't say no. I feel like I'm just collecting goalies. So I want them all, except for.
That's what our offseason felt like. Greer was like obtaining goalies left and right, and we're like, what are we gonna do with all of them?
Except we were just getting rid of them.
It's for this moment, so that everyone has got injured goalies.
Oh my god!
To start the offseason, and like 2 months in, we had no goalies. And then they just kept signing players that weren't goalies. It made no sense. It was, I mean, you can't have bad goalies if you don't have any goalies. So maybe that was like the initial thought. And like too many days passed when they realized, we don't actually have any goalies. We should work on that. Which was like, I don't want to say it was lucky, but it was interesting to sign the goalies that they did because they're like good and the Caps are the Caps. They're the way they are.
How are the Caps with their cap?
Not to be mean to the players that helped get the Stanley Cup, but there are a few players that should just we should part ways with. And by we, I mean them. But in this moment, I do mean an aggressive we. I don't want to say their names because I have a little bit sort of been indirectly bullying them because they should do better. But it's time to part ways. Sometimes you need to part ways. And if we trade, no, because then we're just gonna get something or someone that'll make me anxious. Somehow we'll get a defenseman who just loves to score but can't defend, which we already have one of those. And I love John Carlson, so we don't need two.
Oh, we had two of those. It didn't work out for us.
See, you can only have one. There's every team has a limit for a goalie who likes to go on little adventures, or a forward who can skate really well backwards but forgets that he can score. There's a limit. And the Caps are at their limit for defensemen who can't defend well, but love scoring. But if you look at their stats, they can defend, but it's because no one else is defending. We're at the limit. We're at 1.5. And a half is because the one is hurt. We can't have two, but it's like Titanic. So if we get one more, it's just gonna see what the Titanic reference is just coming back. It's gonna crack the ship. It's gonna be the iceberg, and it'll be over. And then I'll have to root for the Wizards, actually root for them because the Caps won't be in the playoffs. Is that what you want? Because that would be terrible. I wouldn't wish the Wizards on anyone except for myself because I do watch their games regularly.
You guys only have one guy, your Carlson, on a 4-year contract, and everyone else is pending. So if you were GM, who's staying and who's going on your defense?
Lars Eller, Anthony Mantha, they're gone without hesitation. It was already on my mind. It's itching in the back of my brain. They're gone. I love them, but they're gone. They cause too many turnovers, and it makes me anxious because they're the same turnovers that tie the game, every single time. Tom Wilson is staying, not just because he's great, but also because a few years ago, Braden Holtby said he was a future captain, and he's not a future captain of the Capitals. Then what are we doing here? I don't know. It's kind of like I don't want to be biased and say that Kuzi has to stay, but like he can't really thrive on other teams because he's a very chaotic person, and I don't think it would work well.
I have a little grudge against Kuzi right now because he injured our goalie in the game today.
No, that's fair. He's, like I said, he's very chaotic. I can't defend him there. Like off the ice, I can defend the man with no hesitation, but on the ice, I don't know. He can skate beautifully.
Right into our goalie's head, yeah.
Yeah, yep. Can't defend him. No, it's like trying to defend Tom Wilson, which
talk about chaos.
Which is so unfortunate because like he's the reason I learned how to skate, because he would just like skate into things and not stop. So I was like, I can do that. I don't know how to stop. And every time I think back on it, I was like, no, that's actually not a good thing. That was not a good reason to learn how to skate. Which, I don't know. Like, Tom Wilson would have to stay. 100%. And depending on if it's a trade or just waiving a player, Lars Eller and Anthony Mantha are gone. That hesitation. I don't know. There's too many players that work specifically for the Caps because of how many injuries they had in the beginning of the season. They just work well on the line. But also, they keep changing the line, so, like, what even works right now? I don't know. But there are a lot of injury-prone players that I would like to get rid of, but, like, emotionally, I know that would make me so upset, so... That was actually a really good question, but I can't give a good answer because it's not my job. I would be too attached.
Good answer.
I feel the same.
We definitely talk a lot about what we need to change on the Sharks, but our situation is all of like the long contracts with all the special like privileges that come with it.
I get too attached to the players.
Microdosing fantasy league is like doing this. Because you have these players, but like halfway through the season, you're like, oh, I could do a trade. And then you're like, no, because I'm already attached to them.
Yeah.
But then, like, if you get rid of, like, for your Sharks players, if you get rid of them, like, wouldn't that change the whole locker room vibe? Because the Caps have this very chaotic thing going. And if some mellow player comes in, they're going to be scared. Like, I can't even lie to you. They're going to be scared. TJ Oshie does this thing with Tom Wilson, but they're, like, literally practically breaking their sticks, slapping each other's asses. There is no way anyone could see that and think, that is a completely normal thing to do before a game. That is, like, so rational. You are very normal. They wouldn't think that. They would be scared. They would be asking for a trade back.
Despite how sucky the Sharks are, it seems like the locker room chemistry is really good right now. Like, everyone seems to get along really well. I
think that, not to say wins don't matter, because when my team loses, I do get upset, but I do like when you can tell the locker room is thriving. Which, not to say it matters more, but it is important, because you can tell, like, when teams look like robots and they're just on the ice playing, like, with like little wind-up toys just out there.
Yeah, we had a problematic player on the team a few years ago, and you could tell the locker room was not the same.
Yeah, which you can tell how different the team is since they've been gone.
Yeah.
So
hint,
I enjoy watching them more. But you can tell how that player has impacted the current team they're on, which is unfortunate for them because, like, I don't know how they're always projected to go so far in the playoffs and then they don't. Side eye, but
oh my god! And then now they want our Carlson. No, I don't like it.
They're so controlling. They just want everyone.
They can't do anything with all this players. Like, what do you want another one for?
They can't do anything with what they have. So it's. Sometimes I wonder what like goes through, like, the general manager's mind when they're seeing how many players they picked from a certain team. Because, like, certain teams look like they've just, like, completely swapped their rosters and not
Seattle Kraken have taken a lot of Sharks.
Which is so interesting. And I also feel like people have pointed out how, like,
the Seattle Sharks.
Everyone hates Vegas because, like, they're an expansion team and they're, like, a little the way they are. but like no one really hates Seattle. And I can't really point out the difference, but I do notice it.
I think
I
it's
don't know.
because the players and the front office peoples, like the general manager, don't come off as entitled and like we own the league now. Bleh. I feel like because the Knights came, like they busted through the doors and were like, we're doing this, and they went on like that. I don't remember how many wins they had their first season. Since then, the culture has been like, we have to win, like we deserve to win, this is ours, blah blah blah. And like I remember like during the playoffs, one of the reasons Sharks fans did not get along with Vegas fans was because of how toxic their fans were during that time.
That makes sense.
They're like all in your
Because like even
face.
now, I like keep on Twitter. I keep most of them muted because they're intense, but like in the opposite. I feel like they're intense in the way that a lot of people say Toronto fans are,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't experienced that. So like they seem to me what Toronto fans seem to everyone else, but it doesn't seem earned, if that makes sense. Like if a Montreal fan was talking shit to me, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. Look how many wins you have, or be like, look how many like retired jerseys you have. It makes perfect sense. Or like if I don't know, a Dallas Stars fan was saying something, that would make sense because like all their faves just they get shipped out like with urgency. I understand why they'd be upset. I don't get it with Vegas, especially when they don't really have like not that a team history is necessary to be an annoying fan because I'm one and team history isn't really that important. But like Seattle doesn't have it like that, and I'm assuming it's something to do with like how they carry themselves so obnoxiously. I've been trying to like not say that word, but it's very obnoxious.
Do you know what I like about this
Mm,
season is that I'm not hearing, oh, the Vegas Golden Knights, blah blah blah. I have heard like
exactly. I
barely
haven't.
anything, even though they're doing well. It's very
I
refreshing.
like that though. I like it.
I
I
saw
like
this
hearing
morning
absolutely
that
nothing.
Logan Thompson's out week to week,
Oh
so they
no.
might not be doing so hot now because Hill is gonna have to step up.
Oh, poor guy.
And speaking of goalies that
It's
like to
so.
adventure,
I think goalies should be allowed to like wander out. If a goalie
but they
wants to
need to
go,
come back.
In
They
time.
need to
okay,
come back
they do
home.
need to come back, but sometimes they wanna be a part of the action, which is the problem because maybe they shouldn't because
Then they get hurt.
then you'll have like 50 shots on goal or something, or you'll have like Koozie saying to you. But you know, sometimes they need to go on like little adventures, which is what I had. Like that's one of the problems I have with Sammy leaving Samsonov. He likes to go on his little adventures outside of his crease, and I support it. If he wants to go wander off halfway through a play on the opposite side of the ice, I'm supporting him. And Toronto fans are like, what the hell is he doing? And I was trying to explain he likes to go on adventures. They were not having it. They did not like it.
Just trying to get some
And he's
fresh
been
air.
going on less and less adventures. They're suppressing the little wanderer in him, which is fine, I guess, since they're like winning or whatever.
Where's the
But
fun
like
in that?
sometimes, like, be humbled. Take a few losses to like. Well, I wouldn't actually wish losing to Arizona on anyone because I think that would be really funny. So maybe like lose. I don't know. If someone lost to Tampa, I think that would be funny because I like when they call themselves Champa. It's not really like a logical reason. I
They
just think
call
it's
themselves that?
yeah when they went because they won the Super Bowl and then those two back to back and they started calling themselves
That's
Champa Bay.
so
And I
bad.
thought it was a terrible name.
Didn't
It's
their,
so
correct me
terrible.
if I'm wrong, but didn't their like baseball team win sometime recently?
They went to
The World
oh,
Series?
how far did they go? They didn't. Did they go to the World Series?
The Tampa Rays.
They may have gone to the series right before. I know they went far, which is why a lot of shirts had like all the teams on with like mashup shirts that have like all the logos, which look terrible but like so good at the same time. It was it's kind of bad like in a good way. Like I hate seeing it because I don't like when Florida teams do well, or like any team that's not my team, or that any team that beats my team really bad, which is all of their teams, which is so unfortunate. But it is like a catchy name in a bad way. Kind of like you hate eating Cheetos because the Cheeto dust like sticks to your finger, but it's so good that you don't really mind, so you just keep wiping it off like every few bites. Which again is like a very weird comparison, but that's what Champa is to me. It's fine when they're like beating other teams that aren't mine.
Mm-hmm.
Unless like it's baseball and they're beating Juan Soto, and then it's not fine.
He's overrated.
Not cool at all.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I felt my heart stop. Oh my god, no. He's the greatest. He's lovely.
No, he's a fun player to watch.
I love how he pisses pitchers off. It's so funny.
All right, prediction for the Caps since the Sharks aren't going to the playoffs. How far are they going?
Will they make the playoffs?
I mean, I'll probably root for the Caps. I don't know.
I think they're out in 5 games in the first round. Last year, I said they were out in 6 games. To who? That's where it kind of trips me out. Because, like, everyone, I do agree with I believe it was Sidney Crosby said a few weeks ago, that it should go back to, like, a 1-8 playoff format. Because it is more exciting that way, and I am kind of sick of seeing the same so-and-so teams play each other. But I don't know. I am pretty sure they'll be out in the first round, mostly because of how inconsistent they've been. Usually, however they play the last 3 games before the All-Star break is how they carry on, which is so unfortunate that I've actually sat there and done the math for it because I was so upset with them. But I'm not confident they'll do well if they even make the playoffs.
Do you think they're going to make a decent trade at the deadline?
No. No. No, I don't. I already think it was a skill that we got Dylan Strome. And, like, every day I check the roster, like, is he still here? And then he signed an extension, and I was like, man, we really tricked him with that one or something. I don't know what happened there. But he likes it here, which is so surprising, because, like, I don't know, it seems like DC athletes are, like, leaving with, like, a fire under their ass. They're, like, sprinting away. But when cool players stay, it's like, oh my god, how did we trick you? I want to know how we tricked you. I want to do it again. I don't think they'll be a good trade, though, which is unfortunate. But it won't be surprising. But it will make it easier to get over them sucking in the playoffs if they get there, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm not sure if I should say good luck to the Capitals.
What's like the neutral of like good luck? I guess it would be like have a game instead of have a season. Good game.
You have a rest of the season.
I tried to like manifest them tanking, and they were trying too hard. So I guess it is just have a season. I am rooting for someone to tank like really well, though. I want to see where better it goes. Which I didn't think I'd actually be rooting for like someone to pick him up. As long as it's not Chicago, then it's all good.
They don't deserve it.
They don't deserve a lot of the players they have right now. Like cool players that I can't root for because they're there. Like I said a lot, but it's like 3.5 because one of them is hurt. So could the Sharks like successfully tank them? Because I would root for them for that. Like bandwagon.
We're mildly succeeding because now we've got this surge of energy. Now that they, at least from the national broadcast, they're aware that we're not making the playoffs. I haven't actually heard anything from our staff saying that they're acknowledging that we're out of the race.
They won't acknowledge it until it's official.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're giving you hope. which
It's dumb because we don't have it.
depending on your vibe is not the way to go.
The hope we want right now is to tank hard, and the team is not giving it
Which
to us.
you could like a tank with style though. Someone should like tell them that. Like you could score a lot of goals, but just make sure the other team scores more than you.
Yeah.
Tank with style. With a little
Your Caps didn't get the memo today.
They don't listen to my messages anymore, I can tell.
They left
I've
you
been telling
unread.
Obi to score. And he's just not been listening. I've been like begging for an 8-19 goal, and they just stopped reading my messages. So rude of them. Can't take it, but like fine.
Get in touch with Hopi so they can start reading your messages again.
You know, if I do that, then it's over for everyone, okay? Because then the Cats are going to start playing like.
Can you imagine if she somehow got to text Hopi and then you see the little ... of him replying?
I would lose my
We'd hear your scream from over here.
You could hear it states away. Every oh my gosh. Like it would take everything in me not to screenshot like look who's texting me.
Exactly what I was thinking, like
Because
screen
so
record.
weird. Like just have proof. Like I didn't imagine this. I didn't Photoshop it. Now I'm thinking about it.
Well, I guess we'll leave you on that note. Thinking about Hopi texting you.
It's a great thought to leave off on.
All right, Jo. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about your
Everything.
jersey designs and giving us that Hopi reaction, because that was definitely on my to-do list to ask you about, because I was living vicariously through you. And then enjoying Capitals talk, even though you didn't help us tank today. So we'll forgive you though, but
I'll tell the team to I'll manifest for the Sharks to tank harder. I'll pull out crystals and everything. I'll make it serious for them.
If you ever decide to sell prints of your artwork, let us know.
Absolutely. Especially because I want to do other teams, because I feel like I've been too focused on the Caps, which is why they've been doing the way they're doing. But yes, I'll make a special one for Carlson, because I think he's great. So.
Yay! All right. Thank you so much for coming on, and I am your host, Jay.
I am other host, Nessa. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye. Bye.